Yo, I feel like low-key, the Cowboys, they never cease to amaze me to find a way to turn over the ball. All the momentum in the world, you got CeeDee Lamb on the go route, you throw it to his backside shoulder, picked off by the Steelers DB. Dallas Cowboys are must-see TV every season, and somehow tend to come out with some of the same results. Listen, I'm not a Cowboys hater. Personally, being one who lives in Dallas, I appreciate when the Cowboys win. You know why? Because on Monday, some crazy drivers who already don't got no sense, they happen to feel a little bit better about their commute because the Cowboys won. So if the Cowboys winning means I have a better drive and commute to work, I'm all for it. I want them to go undefeated, personally. That's just me. But it's at halftime right now. It is 6-3. Cowboys up on the Steelers. Hopefully the Cowboys get a win. Not just because they're America's favorite team, but because, again, I want that commute to be sweet tomorrow. Going to work. Yeah, that's the reason why. If you followed the season so far, you've been keeping up with. Recently, I was selected out of 6.5 million people at random to have a 10-minute conversation with Steven Bartlett, investor, CEO, podcast host of Diary of a CEO, incredible genius, one of the most influential individuals of our generation, and probably arguably the most influential individual in the UK. So influential that the Prince literally asked him to spend a day with him. Man, it's wild.
Hit 6 million subscribers on the Diary of a CEO. So me and my team would like to do something we've never done before as a little thank you. And we're calling it the Diary of a CEO subscriber raffle. And here is how it works. Every episode this month, we're going to pick 3 current subscribers at random. And we'll send one of you a £1,000 voucher, one of you tickets to come and watch the Diary of a CEO behind the scenes live with our team. And one of you will have a 10-minute phone call with me to discuss whatever you want to talk about. If you're a subscriber, you're in the raffle. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing me to do something that me and my team love doing so much. It is the greatest honor of my lifetime, and I hope it continues off into the future.
I had that conversation with him, and it was kind of surreal. Opened up my eyes to what's possible. You know, that conversation. You couldn't request that moment. I mean, not only is he dealing with all his companies that he runs, the new offices, the HQ in the UK, studio in LA, studio in New York for Diary CEO, and constant shoots. He's always traveling on the go. And for him to make that time to speak with me, man, it's crazy. Means a lot. I know nothing happens by accident. I didn't know about his show initially when I first saw that episode with the neuroscientist, but I'm so glad that I made that comment on the video because I believe that comment is what spotlighted me being selected out of one of 3 individuals out of 6.5 million people. So while I was in conversation with him, one of the things I asked him was, "Hey, what's going on, family? Hey, welcome back to Perspective. Your Perspective is a place where you and I take life-changing principles, apply them to our daily lives to transform the world around you." On this edition of Late Night Perspective, I thought I would share a few principles and a few takeaways that I received from a conversation I had recently with none other than the one and only Steven Bartlett from the Diary of a CEO. Now, I've said on prior episodes that I was picked one out of 3 individuals out of a pool of about 6.5 million subscribers to have a conversation with Steven, and we could talk about anything that I wanted to talk about.
Hit 6 million subscribers on the Diary of a CEO. So me and my team would like to do something we've never done before as a little thank you, and we're calling it the Diary of a CEO subscriber raffle. And here is how it works. Every episode this month, we're going to pick 3 current subscribers at random, and we'll send one of you a £1,000 voucher, one of you tickets to come and watch the Diary of a CEO behind the scenes live with our team, and one of you will have a 10-minute phone call with me to discuss whatever you want to talk about. If you're a subscriber, you're in the raffle. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing me to do something that me and my team love doing so much. It is the greatest honor of my lifetime, and I hope it continues off into the future.
So that conversation had happened this past weekend, and I wanted to share just some insights and a few takeaways that I got from that conversation. So while I was in conversation with him, one of the things I asked him was, how did he go from the concept of his book to actually something tangible in his hands, right? Material. How did he go from concept to material? And he shared pretty candidly about you really got to find out what your why is first. And he mentioned that a lot of people go around aimlessly wasting time in life because they don't know why and what they're doing, why they're doing it. And it made me think of it, taking it a step further, that a lot of us will experiment and try our best to do things and create things and just really promote these things that we're doing. However, we're uncertain about what our end goal is or our objective is. And even taking it, like I said, a step further, understanding who we are in the context of the stage of life that we're in. Because I believe that where you are and who you are first, if you understand who you are in characteristic and tangibly, based on your faith, based on what you stand on, who you are, right? Apart from your career, apart from your family, apart from all the things that you would define yourself by. Who are you when no one's looking? Like, who are you? And then once you define who you are, it's from that place you can create, you can build from, you can deploy, you can serve others, you can do all the things, but it's from who you are. So a lot of folks haven't found that out first, but they're often running with business ideas. They're often running with concepts. They're often running with relationships that are created. They're often running with all these things, but they don't have a foundation. And if we do have some sense of a foundation, it typically is founded on something that is movable or something that is very surface, right? Surface, just starting out. Roots are not very deep. We haven't really anchored ourselves yet. So I feel like the individuals, like he said, those who can find out what their objective is, what they're trying to achieve, and then from that, right, build from there. And I think it's so much easier to build from who you are versus this person that you're trying to become, or kind of satisfying the ego and the idea of what you see the result of what you're trying to create will be, right? Not being married to not being married to the end goal and objective, but being able to see with a clear vision how to get there initially, right? And so I think getting started is very important. The genesis and the beginning of anything. So understanding your why, understanding the purpose of a thing. If I gave my son my phone when he was a baby, more than likely Joshua would grab the phone. He'd probably try to bite on the phone. He'd probably try to throw the phone. He'd try to probably bang the phone on the ground, on the wall. It's because he doesn't know the purpose of this phone. But as soon as I give this phone, say, to my wife, she understands the purpose of the phone, right? She'll use the phone. She'll probably text with it. She'll take pictures. She'll hop on a call. And so my son, who is very immature, right? He's a child. He's only 2, but let alone when he was an infant, infancy stages of life cannot sustain, right, the mature, established goals that we have. So if you're in an immature stage, or let's say you're in the beginning of something, and you're really understanding who you are, what's going on, what matters to you, what you're trying to create, what you're saying no to, what you're saying yes to, what is in line with what you believe, what's in line with what your values are. If you're in that stage, you don't turn around and put 10 years, right? 10 years of resources, of experiences, of growth. You don't lay that on top of 1 year, right? I'm not going to tell my son, hey son, I need you to go look at our budget for the month, and I need you to figure out, do we have any surplus? Do we have any deficits? Do we have any investment? I mean, I can't put what I've built up of over 12 to 15 years of experiences onto a 2-year-old, because he's in the genesis of his life journey, right? And so that as well is, managing your expectations. I think understanding the expectations you have, and then the reality that plays out, that usually defines whether you become disappointed or whether you become overly excited. Your experiences and typically your emotions are going to move and vacillate between your expectations and the reality that plays out. And so I think if there's a way to stay as consistent as possible, regardless of what the results are, if you can put that your expectation is to give 100% of understanding who you are and where you're growing from and what matters and what's most important, the result of that is always going to be even. It's always going to be, whether it's an up day or a down day, because you understand the purpose and you understand the stage that you're in. That will supersede and surpass simple results. I think it was Kobe and Michael Jordan said this, that, the difference between a great player and a good player is, you don't get discouraged by making a mistake or missing a shot, but you keep putting up shots, because if you're a shooter, all your responsibility is to shoot, is to follow through, is to use your form, is to use fundamentals. If the ball doesn't go in, that shot doesn't go in, you don't all of a sudden stop shooting. You keep shooting, and you keep shooting. And from that principle, I believe that while you're trying to take things from concept to tangible in your hand, you really got to continue to step forward every single day. Take it a step at a time. Continue to push, continue to redefine your why, because there are going to be challenges ahead. There are going to be tensions you run into. If your why is not greater than the headwinds and the hurdles and the tensions that you run into, you're going to give up every time. You're going to stop every time. You're going to stop trying to propose the deal. You're going to stop trying to attempt to date. You're going to stop trying to have that tough conversation with your spouse. You're going to stop trying to begin that workout program. You're going to stop applying for jobs, although you don't have any calls coming in. It's because the frustration that comes with unmet expectations. If you can have an expectation of gratitude, no matter what your results are, you'll be grateful that you get another opportunity to execute. You get another opportunity to attempt. You get another opportunity to at least put your best foot forward. So that, even just from that one answer, as far as many people waste their time going about their lives aimlessly, is because they don't understand their why. They don't understand what and their why. And I just had to pause and kind of just process on that. Like, man, what is my why? Some people call it motivation. I feel like motivation, whether it's an internal motivation or an external motivation, it is a propelling force that enables you to at least get started. Notice I said get started and not sustain. So I feel like motivation, whether you're internally motivated, right, or you're externally motivated. Internally motivated meaning I want to prove to myself that I can and that I am who I know I am. Okay. Externally motivated, I want to prove to the naysayers that I'm not what they said I am. You know what I'm saying? I want to prove to those who doubted me. I want to prove to those who underestimated me, right? External motivation. I want to prove to my family, although my parents grew up, didn't have a lot. I grew up not having a lot. I'll never experience that again, right? I want to prove that. That's an external motivation. And typically external motivations make us run from things and don't make us run to things, right? Just like I said, if you grow up in a very challenging socioeconomic family, struggle for things, your friends went over your friends' houses, it seemed like everything. And so what you do is you're trying to outrun poverty. You're outrunning that socioeconomic status that you don't want to experience again. And so that becomes your why, and also becomes your mission and your purpose in life, to never experience poverty. So now your motivation for becoming successful is to not experience a thing, and the byproduct of it is success. And the challenge of that is, if it's an internal motivation to be and produce all that you are able to based on your capacity and based on what God's given you, your gifts, your abilities, your talents, your ideas, if it's based on that, then you're running towards something. So the challenge is, when you're running from something, all you know is to continue to keep outrunning it, and it's this internal sense of you can't be still, you can't have rest. There you go. You might be still, but you can't have rest in your spirit, right? In your emotions, because you're trying to outrun. You're ever outrunning this thing that's chasing you, whatever it is. It might not be poverty. It might be old habits. It might be insecurity. It might be depression. Whatever it is you're trying to outrun. I think it's partially true though as well, because you have to think about lifestyles that you may have lived, or college days, or just whether you're sober now, you used to drink, or whatever the case may be, lifestyle choices. Your decisions to say yes to the new priorities and disciplines that you have is another day that you said no to your old self. It's another day that you said no to your history, right? It's another day that you said yes to this process of becoming and evolving and growing. All that stems from whether you're internally motivated or you're externally motivated. And again, like I said earlier, motivation, I feel like, is a start. But if you some way can go from motivation to sustaining, I think motivation starts the thing, but discipline and your purpose and your why will sustain you, especially on days where you don't feel like it, because that's the honest truth. A lot of us are not going to feel like doing a lot of things that is requiring from us. The other week I posted something. Let me just read it. I think I have it right here. I don't post a lot on Facebook. I don't really be on Facebook anymore. So I posted in September. I said, determine in your mind that you will stop breaking commitments to yourself. If you can easily break commitments to yourself, how much easier will it be to break them to your family, your inner circle, your clients, or even your friends? Every single day, we either make time or make excuses. The hard truth is, your best sometimes may fall short of what is required. I'm going to say it again. Sometimes your best sometimes may fall short of what is simply required. So finding how to fill the gap between what you can produce versus what the people, places, and things require from you in your life is vital. But only if you want to grow. If you want to sustain or you want to maintain. Again, if you want to grow, if you want to sustain or you want to maintain. The pressure can sometimes make us opt out, to decide to not do anything, because, to be honest, we don't want the responsibility of the results of our execution or the lack of our follow through. Even indecision is a decision. So to choose not to do something is still a decision. So unintentional negligence becomes the fruit of the seed of displaced focus, busyness, laziness, procrastination, or purposeless sacrifices. Pause and prioritize what matters most. Put them in their proper place, then execute and finally act. It's hard, but it's necessary. I'm rooting for you. When I say making purposeless sacrifices, what I mean by that is a purposeless sacrifice is something that is a sacrifice you make, but it didn't take you any step closer to who you are and the purpose of what you're expressing in this stage of your life. There's a scripture that I'm reminded of in this moment. And Samuel said, has the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to listen than the fat of the ram. In 1 Samuel 15:22, it says that obedience is better than sacrifice. So that scripture, one principle you can take from that is, if you can follow the instructions of the original purpose that you have for the reasons of why you're doing what you're doing, it is better to make the hard decision to follow through and be obedient to what you committed to, rather than not do that, do something else in the name of a sacrifice. That is a purposeless sacrifice. Specifically in the context of that scripture, it says our sacrifice is more precious to the Lord than his actual word or what he said to you. The truth is no. Obedience to him and what he told you to do, right, is much better than a sacrifice. That sacrifice is a purposeless sacrifice at that point. It is a sacrifice that you convince in your mind it's worth making for you. But again, it does not take you a step closer to producing and creating what God has given you, what he told you to do. So all in all, how do we take a step closer to producing what is actually required based on the purpose and the reason why we're doing it? So we're not running aimlessly, trying to figure things out, experimenting on our own life, because time is running out. Time is running out. Time itself is on a timeline, right? Time itself is going to expire. And when time does expire, you want to be one who is found, helping others, adding value, doing what God told you to do. You're not sitting at a bus stop waiting for Jesus to show up to save you, but you truly are establishing Matthew 6:33 in the earth, to seek first his kingdom, his righteousness, so that all the things that you worry about every single day will simply be added to you. So ultimately, the way you close that gap on, again, your expectations and your reality is one, is your expectation in line with what you should be following through on your obedience? Is your expectation in line with the place that you're supposed to be obedient in? And if it's not, then the reality is you're going to always fall short. You're going to always miss the mark. You're going to sometimes feel discouraged. And even when your obedience, or even when your original purpose is in line and your expectations are set, sometimes things happen. Life happens. But that's where trust comes in. That's where faith comes in. Faith is a substance of something that you hope for, while there is evidence of things that you can't see yet. The reason why you have that dream is the substance of a faith that you have hope for it. The reason why you have the desires that you have are given to you by God, and that's an evidence, right? That's substance. And so if you can find out, one, what is my general assignment and purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? What does that look like? That can change depending on the stage of life you're in. But ultimately, what should I be doing right now? Are my expectations, are they lofty? Are they too high? Is the level of my expectation exceeding my actual execution and what I'm actually willing to do and put in the work and put in the time? Is it? And if it is, I gotta find out, okay, if I'm giving my all, if I'm giving my best and it's still not enough, how do I close that gap? Right? How do I close that gap? Am I making senseless sacrifices, purposeless sacrifices, where I need to put more of my time and energy into what's purposeful? Or am I simply just spinning my wheels trying to figure out what's going on? And that's okay. There are times where you will have to feel like you're spinning your wheels. But again, if you can be obedient to the first thing that you committed to yourself, to who you are, to where you are right now, you will ultimately produce exactly what you need from concept to material in your hands. So that's just something that I got from our conversation with Steven Bartlett.